Welcome back, Deep Divers. You know the drill, we're here to supercharge your brain power without the mental exhaustion.
That's right. And today we're diving headfirst into a whole new world, Tools Titans TCG, a trading card game unlike any other.
Yeah, so imagine a world where instead of Greek gods or mythical beasts, you've got legendary figures who embody actual skilled trades using their powers to shape the world around them.
Precisely. Think electricians summoning lightning, masons manipulating the very earth, all fueled by this fascinating energy source called the Weave Force. It's a game of strategy, absolutely. But the depth of the lore, it really sets it apart.
And the material we've got is just incredible. Card frameworks, actual card designs, detailed lore, even early design ideas. Our mission today is to distill Tools Titans TCG down to its absolute essence.
Exactly. So you come away truly understanding what makes it tick and the incredible world it builds.
Okay, let's start with the basics. The core card types.
Right. The game revolves around three primary types, though you'll encounter other supporting elements as well. First up, Titan cards. Your major players, the embodiments of those skilled trades. Each Titan has unique stats, power, defense, skill, and a thing called Weave affinity.
Okay, so let's take Voltara, DD of Electricians. Her card shows a power of 7, defense of 4, skill of 6, and a lightning weave affinity of 5. What does that tell us?
Well, it suggests she's designed for a fast, aggressive style, leaning heavily on her abilities.
Right, and she also has a passive ability, Live Circuit, which boosts her power when she's equipped with a tool card, and her active ability, Storm Surge, lets her damage all opposing Titans.
But that costs Weave energy to use. It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
That's the core strategic element, choosing when to use those abilities, managing your resources effectively.
Now, you mentioned something about Mythic Ascension. What's that about?
Yes. Under certain conditions, Titans can transform into an even more powerful form. Maybe you control enough tools, or activate a specific location. Voltara, for instance, sends into Thunder God form. It grants her temporary immunity to water-based weaknesses and doubles the effects of her tools. Adds another layer of strategy, right? It's not just about building a strong deck, it's about knowing when to make those key plays.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about tool cards. They're not a core type, but they're essential for equipping Titans, boosting stats, triggering effects.
Think of them as the instruments these deities use to express their divine trades.
Right, the hammer to the blacksmith god, the wrench to the mechanic goddess.
Exactly. And then we have task cards, optional side goals you could pursue during a game, kind of like quests. Completing them grants bonuses, extra cards, resources, or even triggers those Titan ascensions.
There's one called Restore the Molten Spire. I can just imagine the narrative possibilities. Needing specific Fireline Titans and blacksmithing tools to complete it, maybe within a time limit. So, just to recap, we've got powerful Titans, tools to enhance them, and tasks to add another layer of strategic depth. But now, let's get into the story, the lore behind this world.
Right. So initially, it was a world shaped by the Titans' creations. Guilds emerged, cities were built, Titans engaged in these, battles of supremacy, but more like contests of skill, not outright war.
So it was a relatively peaceful time with a bit of healthy competition between these divine figures. So what happened? What caused the world to descend into chaos?
The Weave Reckoning. Think of the Weave Force as this magical energy source. The Titan's power, the very environment, it all stems from the Weave.
Right, like a kind of magical lifeblood.
Exactly. But it became unstable, fractured, maybe overuse, maybe a lack of understanding, and this led to the emergence of the Rustborn Titans.
Corrupted Titans. Sounds like a serious problem.
Oh, they are. They're twisted, decaying versions of their former selves, driven by entropy. The Ruststorm Siege was a key turning point. A corrupted Machinara, she's the Titaness of machinists, nearly ripped apart the fabric of time in a place called the Clockwork Vale.
So the world goes from this, era of creation to a time of chaos and corruption. What caused these Titans to turn into Rustborn? How did this whole mess begin?
It's a fascinating story, actually. It all started with Machinara's ambition. She was obsessed with the Weave, its perfect balance. So she tries to encode the entire Weave force into a single machine, this incredibly complex device called the Evergear.
Hold on, she was trying to capture and control the very source of their power. That sounds risky.
Extremely. But her goal was noble, in a way. She wanted to create a self-replicating engine that would ensure perfect creation, eliminate the need for gods, for guilds even. But when she activates the Evergear, instead of perfect creation, it replicates failure, decay, corruption.
So like a technological virus, spreading throughout the Weave.
Exactly. And Machinara herself, she becomes the very first victim, Patient Zero of Rustborn syndrome.
Okay, so that explains the origins. But what exactly are these Rustborn? What defines them?
Imagine the negative aspects of trade skills taken to their extreme. Obsession, unchecked pursuit of efficiency, the unethical use of their tools. They're infected by red mesh, a corrupted form of the weave. Rustara, once the goddess of locks, is now a twisted entity who can lock souls. Fusure, once the embodiment of creation through fire, is now a mindless force of destruction. Shivult, the corrupted Voltara, drains the life out of everything to sustain its own existence. They are a chilling reflection of what happens when skilled trades are corrupted, pushed beyond their limits.
These Rustborn sound absolutely terrifying. What was the immediate impact of their emergence? Did they just run rampant, corrupting everything in their path?
The emergence of the Rustborn led to the Ruststorm, a devastating wave of red mesh that swept through a large region called the Gearhold, corrupting everything. Blueprints, knowledge, tools, even turning machines against their users. It was chaos. But the Tool Titans fought back, and their victory came not through brute force, but through a sort of paradox. Instead of destroying corrupted technology, Constructus, the Titan of Builders, he rebuilt Makinara's fractured shrine into a place of containment. Drafton, the Titan of Drafters, rewrote corrupted blueprints to restore balance. And healers like Metacore and Aquarius cleansed the land. They fought corruption with creation, with understanding, with healing. It's a beautiful reflection of the game's core theme, the power of skilled trades to both build and mend.
It's like they use their skills, their knowledge, to restore what had been broken. Now, how do you actually play with these Rust? It's fascinating. They function as a fail-forward control archetype. They gain advantages by failing to complete tasks, by breaking their own tools, even by losing control of game zones. But it's a high-risk, high-reward gamble. Their inherent instability can overwhelm them, and the lore even features specific Rustborn cards that embody this. Like, there's the Evergear's Echo. It rewards you for destroying your own tools. It's brilliant how the narrative is interwoven with the gameplay.
Okay, we've got this epic backstory of creation, corruption, and a fragile peace. I also came across something about a specific location in the lore, the Hollow Crucible Dungeon. What's the story there?
Ah, the Crucible. It's described as this desolate place, where machines forget their makers and the weave screams in silence. Scarred by the rust, filled with remnants of forgotten technologies, there are these mini-bosses called Crucible Guardians. They guard Crucible nodes, points of concentrated, corrupted weave energy.
Mini-bosses, huh? What kind of challenges are we talking about? Well, for instance, you've got Grindhusk, whose presence disrupts healing magic. Spindlerich forces you to destroy one of your equipped cards whenever you equip a new tool. Patchchain can lock your task cards, preventing you from completing them. It's a tough place to be, that's for sure.
Yeah, sounds rough. So what's the ultimate challenge within the Crucible?
The core mechanic is Rustborn Awakenings. Overcome a certain number of nodes, and a powerful Rustborn Titan awakens. Becomes the dungeon's final boss. What makes these bosses really challenging, they have escalating phases, they get progressively stronger, gain new abilities as the fight goes on. So you might start fighting a boss who drains your tool's effectiveness. Then they might start flipping your completed tasks into corrupted ones. And finally, they might even possess one of your own titans, turning their powers against you. Talk about a curveball.
That sounds incredibly dynamic and challenging. The lore of tools and titans is clearly rich and deeply integrated with the gameplay. What about some of the deeper lore elements, the mysteries that players might uncover?
Well, there's the shattered blueprint of Drafton. Legend says that Drafton, the Titan of Drafters, didn't just design tools. He created the original blueprint for the whole world, the World Plan, inscribed on a legendary scroll. But during the Ruststorm War, this scroll was shattered. Those fragments, they exist as incredibly powerful lost task cards scattered throughout the world. They could unlock secret pathways, reveal forgotten knowledge, or even offer alternate win conditions. Imagine finding a piece of the blueprint to reality itself. It's a fantastic concept that really adds to the depth of the lore.
Absolutely. And there's also the mystery of a long-lost guild. No one remembers their name, their purpose. Could they predate the Titans? Or maybe they come from beyond the weave altogether. The possibilities are really intriguing.
And then there's the fracture at Clockwork Vale. A weave loop, a temporal distortion caused by malfunctioning Evergear tech. It causes a repeating 4-day time loop. And within that loop, Makinara, the first Rustborn, still exists in her corrupted form. A time loop with the original Rustborn trapped inside. It's practically begging for a compelling storyline.
That's a recipe for disaster. Or maybe a brilliant narrative opportunity. The design notes also mention green energy concepts. How does that fit into this world of forges and machines?
It's interesting. You have areas like the solar deserts, the environmentally conscious Verdantia continent. But green energy hasn't been fully realized as a game mechanic or a dedicated Titan, although they've considered ideas. Photosynthetic structures, ecosurge weaves, solar sync tools. There's a lot of potential there.
So it exists in the background but hasn't taken center stage yet.
Right. They've even explored potential conflicts surrounding green energy, a rivalry between Technius, representing traditional tech, and a potential green champion named Solaria. Even a radical guild of overgrowth with its own agenda. Mechanic-wise, there are ideas like sustained tokens, a reusable form of charge, solar flow, rewarding resource conservation, even an overharvest penalty. It's about laying the groundwork for a thematic and mechanically relevant addition.
So it's more than just adding a single green energy titan. It's about integrating the concept into the game's mechanics and narrative. What about this potential titan, Solaria? What do we know about her?
They envision her as a powerful being, maybe forged from the weave's first light, discovered in some ancient solar temple, maybe adorned with golden armor, a cape like a solar sail, a radiant halo. Her tools could be intricate, radiant constructs, harnessing light and energy, really visually striking.
Very cool. I also recall a mention of a judo move concept in relation to Solaria. What was that about?
A judo move in game design is about redirecting existing forces in an unexpected way. It's revealing a deeper truth without breaking the core structure. In Tools and Titans, the dominant themes are forging, building, consuming energy. But Solaritan, that's the current name, she inverts these themes. Her power comes from conservation, from reflection, not consumption.
So instead of expending resources, she gains power by conserving them.
Precisely. Most Titans spend resources to accelerate, to attack. But Solaritan thrives on conservation, on maintaining a strategic rhythm. This mechanical inversion, a passive engine, versus aggressive expenditure, that's the judo move. Imagine passive zone generators that disrupt an opponent's tempo, abilities that reflect damage, sustained tokens that reward strategic inaction. It challenges the very way we think about power in the game. It's a clever way to introduce a new playstyle and theme. And it seems like Solaria might not be the only representative of green energy.
Right, so we could see a whole green pantheon emerge.
That's the idea. They got concepts for Auravana, the Windright, harnessing wind power, Voltessence, the keeper of stored light, focusing on energy storage, Hydrina, the pressure mind, utilizing water and pressure, and Terraville, the furnace below, tapping into geothermal energy. Each would bring new weave subtypes, unique resources, showing the multifaceted nature of sustainable power.
It makes sense. Just like the Rustborn have different flavors of corruption, the green side could have diverse approaches to balance and harmony. Speaking of the Rustborn, how do they expand beyond the initial trio of Chavolt, Future, and Restara?
They're a good start, establishing the core themes. But to become a fully realized faction, they need more depth, more variety. If they remain exceptions, they feel like anomalies, not a cohesive force. A larger roster means more strategic depth, more deck-building options, and a richer narrative. We could explore different corrupted trades, delve into their origins, even ask if redemption is possible.
All right, give me some details. What kind of new Rustborn Titans are we talking about?
Well, there's Sintera, the Shard Sower, a corrupted 3D printing tech, creating flawed, self-destructing constructs. Vainlash, the Shattered Rotor, a wind turbine tech turned atmospheric disruptor. Rivgor, the Code Eater, a data archivist who can erase abilities from cards. Boilgrim, the Pressure that Whispers, a corrupted Boilermaker with volatile creations. And Nullspore, the Bloom that Rewired, who can revive discarded enemies but twisted to serve the Rustborn. Each takes a specific trade and imagines its most terrifying outcome. Really adds depth to the faction.
They sound pretty horrifying, but in a good way. It's clear the Rustborn offer a compelling antagonistic force. But what about the trades that aren't about direct creation or destruction? What about the support roles?
That's a crucial point, and it's something the Tools and Titans team has definitely considered. Those support trades are vital in the real world, but currently there isn't a dedicated support archetype in the game.
So who might these support-focused Titans be?
Well, they've brainstormed 6 potential additions, 3 aligned with the Tool Titans and 3 corrupted by the Rustborn. For the Tool Titans, there's Mandaris, the Pulse of Continuance, a healer inspired by medical technicians, Logistics, the Root Eternal, based on logistics coordinators, optimizing resource flow and movement, and Etherlin, Calibrator of Light, enhancing the effectiveness of tools and even cleansing corruption.
Okay, and what about the corrupted support roles? What twisted forms do they take?
They've got some really dark and interesting concepts there. Ashashvikar, the triage of dread, a corrupted medic who reanimates fallen Rustborn, Coravain, the red courier, a twisted take on logistics, transferring negative effects to enemies, and Murmurflux, the feedback host, a corrupted communications tech who absorbs beneficial effects from enemies and reverses them. These support titans on both sides would add a whole new dimension to the game. It's not just about raw power, it's about strategy, synergy, and using every tool at your disposal.
It's amazing how they've considered every angle, from the essential support roles to the very forces that underpin reality. And speaking of those forces, let's talk about the primordials. What exactly are they?
Imagine forces that predate even the titans. They're not specific trades, but the raw energies and principles that make all trades possible. Heat, pressure, time, even the void. The unbuildable, uncontainable forces of the universe, the source from which both the Tool Titans and the Rustborn originated.
So they're like the bedrock of the entire cosmic system in the game.
Precisely. The initial set includes 8 core forces: Thermodra, heat; Pressuron, pressure; Chronarch, time; Vakra, the void; frictional friction; Condurex, conductivity; Exafera, decay; and Formance, structure. Each is vital to numerous trades and carries deep symbolic meaning within the lore.
It's a solid foundation. But the design notes mention expanding the primordials. Why add more?
They want a more mythically resonant number 13, to add philosophical depth and echo familiar pantheons. So they've added Lucidra, light; Obscuran, darkness; Aetherin, ether or intuition; Gravum, gravity; and Vosidra, voice. These additions explore the philosophical side of skilled trades, highlighting clarity, intuition, the forces that bind us, and the power of communication. Gameplay-wise, they could influence special zones or even deck-wide passive effects, altering the fundamental rules based on the primordials you align with.
It's incredible how they've woven these fundamental forces into the fabric of the game world. Now we've discussed Titan, Tool, and Task cards. What about other card types? Where do things like Weave cards, Structure cards, and even Trap cards fit in?
They've mapped all these expanded types under the 3 core categories for clarity. Titan Ascended cards fall under Titan cards, obviously. Tool becomes the broadest category, encompassing Weave cards, Structure cards, Disruptive Flux cards, Ally cards, Summon cards, even Bait cards, which are designed to replace traditional Trap cards. And there are faction-specific types like Cast cards for Tool Titans and Scorch cards for the Rustborn. Finally, Task cards house Guild cards and Event cards.
So Tool is the real workhorse here. It makes sense given the game's emphasis on crafting, resource management, and inventive use of tools. Now, every good TCG needs a way to fuel its abilities. What's the primary resource in Tools and Titans?
It's charge tokens, and they're not just cards in your deck. You actively generate them through gameplay, controlling guilds, using Titan abilities, building structures. This makes resource management more dynamic, more skill-based. It's all about actively working to generate power, just like in the real world.
Really emphasizes the theme of the game. So for those ready to start deck building, what are the guidelines?
They recommend a deck size of 60 to 65 cards, with a limit of 4 copies of any non-Titan card. Deck construction emphasizes faction synergy. Tool Titans work well together. Rustborn have their own synergies. Include at least 1 guild card and at least 5 task cards to provide strategic objectives.
A good starting point for players. Now, a more practical Colton. What happens when a Titan is defeated or a tool is used up? Where do they go? What's the discard pile called?
They considered several options, but they settled on the junkyard. It evokes themes of skilled trades, creation, and destruction, the potential for salvage and repurposing. Unlike dumping ground, junkyard suggests that even discarded things might hold value.
Junkyard. I like it. Fits the game's overall feel. Now, we've talked about the major players, Titans and Primordials, but are there lesser beings, figures who influence the world on a smaller scale?
Absolutely. They have minor trade deities, sometimes called the subtle pantheon. They bridge the gap between the Primordials and the Titans. They embody the more nuanced, overlooked aspects of skilled trades.
Give me some examples. Who are these deities of the workshop and the blueprint?
Well, there's Glyphaea, the carver of truths, a deity of engraving and scribing, holding knowledge of forbidden blueprints. Kleptorix, the gleaner of ends, is all about salvage and finding value in discarded things. Velami, the threadbinder, is a weaver of silence. Myrix, the pulse without clock, represents watchmaking in untimed intervals. Friscandra, the light that waits, brings illumination to forgotten places. Calypsis, the unfound tumbler, is a deity of lockmaking and secrets. Nimbrel, the voice between wires, represents communication and signals. Osiren, the still-handed, is a deity of embalming and preservation, halting decay. Tarnavar, the hue of secrets, is a master of stains and dyes, altering perception. And Zinthari, the scent without source, influences emotions through scent. Each of these minor trade deities has their own unique role in the world and the potential to influence the TCG.
It adds so much flavor and potential for unique mechanics. Now, about the Rustborn, is there a hierarchy beyond the Titans?
Yes, there are Karotes, the Rustborn monsters, considered the first circle. They're aligned with major skilled trades, and this is a cool detail. They often draw parallels to figures from Greek mythology.
Rustborn monsters with Greek parallels. That's really interesting. Tell me more.
So, for instance, Snarweld, the melting beast, a welding-based monster, echoes the Chimera with its fused form. Drillmire, the burrowed spiral, representing tunneling, brings to mind the serpent python. Karacher, the latch with no lock, is a locksmithing-based entity like the riddle-posing sphinx. Reekthane, the fume lurker, evokes the toxic miasma with its vaporous form. Grapholix, the tangled loom, representing textiles, mirrors Arachne and her webs. Saruf, the blade swarm, is a carpentry-based creature like the Stymphalian birds, a swarm of deadly blades. And there are many others, each with a corrupted trade and a monstrous form reflecting Greek mythology.
It's amazing how they've blended these seemingly disparate elements. Now, are there any specific trios or groupings players should be aware of as they explore the different factions?
Yes, definitely. We have the supporting trio of Tool Titans, Menderis, Logistics, and Etherlin focused on enabling and enhancing their allies. The initial Rustborn Trinity Shibboleth, Fusure, and Rustara representing the core essence of the corruption. The Quintrinity of Rustcentera, Vinelash, Rivgor, Boilgrim, and Nullspore expanding the ranks of the corrupted. And the corroding triad Ashviker, Coravain, and Murmurflux, the Rustborn-aligned support characters. Each group has its own strategic focus and synergy potential.
A lot to consider for aspiring Tools and Titans players. It's been an incredible journey through this rich and complex world. What aspect of the game stood out to you the most, listener?
In considering the connections between skilled trades, mythology, and the forces of creation and destruction, what real-world force do you think could inspire a future Primordial or Titan? We haven't talked about everything, so there's plenty of room for your own ideas.
We encourage you to dive deeper into this world. Design your own Titan. Imagine a terrifying new Rustborn creature. The possibilities are endless.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've gained a deeper understanding of the intricate world of Tools and Titans TCG.
And who knows? Maybe we'll see your own creations in the game someday. Until next time, keep those mental gears turning.